I'm going to have to jump right into my quote of the night because I'm just going to have to start talking about all the chaos that was a result of my morning today. So, my morning, no, strike that, reverse it. The quote of the night, that is where we shall start. The quote of the night is: patience is the ability to idle your motor when you feel like stripping your gears. And that's from Barbara Johnson. And it's now story time. Actually, I could probably go ahead and start while we're doing story time. So this morning, I had the thought that, oh man, I really should get some editing done, but I didn't feel like doing it this morning. So I decided to just play some Diablo 4 and like just do some content, like skimming through YouTube, just trying to find some stuff. And I found a couple people talking about multi streaming, and I'm like, okay, I looked at that for a little bit, but then I also wanted to, take my time, research, overthink things like I like to do. And so I did that and found a couple people talking about some interesting stuff. And I'm like, well, screw it. I'll just look into that a little bit more. Figured out the tool, seemed like it wasn't going to be super complicated, the one I want to try out. Did all the things so that I could kind of think about it throughout the day. And then with the hopes that I come home from work, I figure out how to get it all set up and then multi stream to YouTube tonight. I decided not to do that because I started to run into some roadblocks. Like, I haven't really looked into like rules and regulations from both YouTube and Twitch side. Like, I have heard some things, but that's not the same thing as knowing or reading for myself. So that's not a wise move. There's a couple other little things that were really kind of not as important because since I'm such a small content creator, since YouTube is kind of a pain in the ass to find live content anyway, like I'm not worried about looking fancy here, and I've been doing this for almost, well, like 2.5 years now. And so certainly don't need to look fancy on YouTube, but also wanted to look into like the moderation side of things and how to get that going on because again, I don't think I'm going to be big enough that someone will come and mess with my stream, but you never know cuz people in bots out there are just there's douche maneuvers happening all the time. So I was like, fuck it. But I had messed with my OBS streaming software a bit before I just was like, screw it, I'll just set up a stream and just get myself going for tonight on Diablo. I set everything up, I hit start streaming, and then I leave the room. Usually, when I start my stream, I start it, I start my music, everything is set, I walk away so I can have that last minute conversation with my husband or my kids or go grab a last minute snack or make myself a coffee or whatever I'm going to do for the anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes that I'm going to take between when my stream starts and when I'm actually streaming, like when I'm here. And I didn't even think about the fact that I hadn't double checked that I'd gotten all my settings put back in place. So when I came back to my stream, it was like, you didn't start your stream. You failed to blah, 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 blah. This doesn't match. And I'm just like, oh shit. So then I had to try and figure out because it's been ages. It's been so long since I've set up like my very first stream, and I never messed with any of those settings because I only ever streamed to Twitch. So I was like, I don't remember how to do any of that. So I started to like freak out a little bit, and I was like, well, maybe I should just cancel the stream since now I've screwed myself over. I'm like, no, I can figure this out. I can fix the settings. It's fine. I can look up some stuff real quick and it'll jog my memory. Well, I did enough to figure it out enough to here I am. I'm here. I'm a lot later than I had planned to be because I thought I was going to come sit back down, wait for my song to run out, and then switch to Diablo. And then I had to futz with settings, which, I know I've mentioned this in a few streams recently where it's like This is the kind of stuff that 6 months to a year ago would have stopped me dead in my tracks and I would have just canceled. I would have just been like, screw it, it's too much. And I've persevered and got through it to the other side, which is great. But I was all convinced throughout the entire day that I was going to multi stream tonight. And the reason I picked the quote I did was because there was a part of me that was just like, just fucking do it anyway. There are things that you're not sure about, and just fucking do it anyway and see what happens. And I was like, the moderation thing probably would have been okay for tonight, but the rules and regulations part, I was like, I really need to make sure I'm not gonna screw myself over. Like, there are certain things that, like, because Twitch has only, what, in the last year or so, recently allowed that multi streaming stuff, and they're picky about what they let you do. So I was like, I really should look at that. And then I should also look and see what YouTube, because I haven't streamed to YouTube ever. I thought about just trying to stream to YouTube tonight and just see what that was like. But now that I kind of messed around with it and kind of dabbled, like I had everything set to go, and I could have just said start and screw it. And I just backed off, and I was like, no, you really need to put all your ducks in a row just in case something hinky happens and you have to try and deal with it on the fly, and then you don't know what you're doing with YouTube. I mean, Twitch, I could probably deal with a lot of stuff on the fly now. I'm not like super savvy, but I'm savvy enough to deal with some of the shit that sorry, there's people asking for help apparently. I'm not paying attention to those people. I could probably deal with most things that I could get thrown at me on Twitch. Maybe not gracefully, but I could deal with them. But YouTube is a whole different beast, and I really want to look into that a little bit more before I do the multi-stream thing. But it is coming, because I started thinking about upgrading my laptop for my art stream, and I was like, you know what I really should do is I really should think about what kind of laptop I would need, not just to beef up what I have, but also to potentially multi-stream, because I know that there's a lot of artsy craftsy people going on YouTube. That's where I started watching lots of content. Most of the stuff that I do here on Twitch, arts making related, is not like anything else that's on Twitch. I don't really ever see mixed media, junk journaling, glue booking. I don't see collaging. I don't see a lot of that going on. Like, one other person I have found. Everyone else is doing very different stuff. Diamond painting, knitting, Lego building, puzzling, fabricating, 3D printing, things like that, model building. And it's just amazing to me just how much of the stuff that I like, all the content I consume on YouTube, like none of that's here that I have found. Like, few and far between do I see that kind of stuff, which I find fascinating. So I know that that stuff might perform better in the YouTube space, but I don't want to not, like, I'm interested to see what happens if I actually like make a push to get noticed more, like what it would do in Twitch. It may not. The Twitch audience might be completely like, that ain't for us. And that's fine too. I'm not here to like change the world or anything, or change the Twitch world. But I'm curious to know, since it's so not here. What the hell did my son get on my mat? Damn it. Or did he scratch my mat? I can't even tell. Either something stuck to it, or he scratched it. Anyway, because it's textured now. Alright, I'm not going to obsess over that. So, that was part of the, not the chaos part where I forgot how to do shit and didn't set my stream up like it's supposed to be, but the cooling my jets kind of thing, to not jump into multi-streaming without checking a little bit more off my checklist of things I should really look into and know before I start doing this. Like, there was some of that stuff I didn't do when I first started streaming on Twitch, but I also wasn't telling anybody I was streaming on Twitch when I started. And so I feel like I don't know how much I streamed with zero people, ever at the beginning of streaming on Twitch. So there was a lot of stuff that I learned along the way. Um, but now that I know about that stuff, I should probably look into that side of things on YouTube before I am doing both. Anyway, thanks for dropping in. If you want to hang out, you can find me live on Twitch Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are. And I'll see you next time.